everyone, my name is Ashley Beeson and welcome back to my channel. And today there is only one thing to talk about, which is the Met Gala, which of course happened on Monday. And because the Met Gala is such a big fashion event, and I felt like particularly this year there were so many looks, we are going to break up my fashion review into a few videos. So there will be either 2 or 3 videos that I will do for the Met Gala. This will just be my first review and my first like bunch of looks from the stairs carpet. So without further ado, let's just get right into the video. So before we begin, just a few bullet points on like the theme and dress code. The theme of the exhibition was superfine tailoring black style, which meant that the exhibition was going to consist of pieces that explore the styles of black dandies ranging from the 18th century to present day. And so it is very much more so like a black dandy fashion culture that is the drive of this particular exhibition. And as for the dress code is tailored for you, which is a reference to the menswear and suiting, and most importantly like the tailoring that came from the exhibition point of view with the dandy tailoring and all of that stuff. So it isn't necessarily needing to dress exactly like what the theme is, but in speaking to the dress code, tailoring is the most important part, but it is just an offset of the theme, even though it is very well tied into the theme, and it is up to a very broad and big creative interpretation, as long as it's got some good like tailoring aspects to it, maybe along the lines of more traditional things where you take it out of the box. You've hit the mark. And I feel like a lot of people really did, which I did hope that that'd be the case, and I think for the most part it was for sure. But going into the actual looks, we are starting with the queen of the Met Gala, which is Rihanna, who announced that she is pregnant for I think the 3rd time. I think this is her 3rd kid. So that's exciting. But going into her look, she wore Marc Jacobs, and the hat that she wore is in collaboration with Marc Jacobs and Stephen Jones. But I feel like this particular look, and it's not new for Rihanna, but I feel like this is just another look that it's so hard to have anything to say because it is perfect. I love everything about this stuff. Obviously it hits the dress code theme mark. You can't argue that at all. She never misses the theme anyways, but there's like nothing about this look that I don't love. I love the proportion of the hat, the fabric textures that go down through the garment, whether it's the texture of the crop jacket or it's the gray middle part or it's the more pinstripe suiting that we see basically as the skirt, and then the little extra neckline here. Like everything about this look, and the shoe brings it all together. But like there is nothing about this look that I feel like isn't absolutely perfect, and it is so good. She looks unsurprisingly so very good, and this is one of my favorites of the entire gala this year. It's just like on the mark, but we're not shocked, and she just did such a good job with this, and this is exactly the dress code. And then we have Colman Domingo, who was also a co-chair for the Met Gala, and he was in Valentino, and I thought this was a great look. To me, the like statement piece was the blue cover up that he wore initially before he swapped. He took that off and then showed like his suiting. I believe the reference with the blue cover up is something I thought reminded me of Andre Leon Talley, because that's something that he would have worn and he had worn in the past, and so I thought that that was like a direct reference probably to him. In terms of the suiting, I thought it was very nice. I thought that the patterning was great, the extra little flower, and then the out of the ordinary tie, not having anything crazy, having more of like a silky tie in the detailing. I think it's like an overall very well done look, but I do love the concept of it, and I do think it 100% works for this particular gala, and I think he looks absolutely great in it. It hits the mark, which to me with Met Galas, because it is so hit or miss if people actually follow the dress code, this hits the mark and I appreciate it, and I appreciate the reference with the cover up if I'm right, which I feel like I am. But either way, a very good execution for this dress code. Next is Lewis Hamilton, who was another co-chair for the gala, and he was in Wales Bonner, and I love this because it is on theme, but it's very simple. There are definitely crazier looks for the men for this gala, and I just like that this one felt a little simple to break up all of the looks. I love that it's all white. I love the hat, the more of like the beret type styled hat. The cropped blazer jacket is great, and then the satin lapels is really good. The pant is great. I love the little additions of the like the brooches or like the little jewelry that's on the lapel and then on the hat. I thought the little bow tie was super cute. This is just a very well executed and very clean tailored piece. So even though it's very simple comparative to a lot of other looks, it is still very, very good and hits the mark on the dress code, and I think he looks great. I just love this whole look. It's simple but very effective. I like the little details. It works for me, really. And then we have Zendaya, who, before I get into the actual look, I had no idea what she was gonna actually do, because I knew she could have gone in so many different directions. Her and La Roche could have like done something that I would never have thought of, and I'm gonna be honest in saying that just a suit that she ended up doing, which was a Louis Vuitton suit, I wasn't expecting that. Do I hate it? Absolutely not. It's perfection, but it's not what I was expecting. But of course it's on theme and it works. But this look is amazing. And then there are two references for this particular look. It's the Diana Ross and Mahogany look, and then there's a Bianca Jagger look. That both of these looks, they essentially look like this look, and so those are where this interpretation came from. And there is absolutely nothing about this look that is bad. The hat is perfect. The makeup was amazing as always. The three-piece is great, and I love that the vest kind of looks a little bit more off-white slightly than the actual jacket and trousers, so it's a little different in the coloration. It could also just be the lighting, but for my picture it's a little bit off, so it like adds a little bit of depth to it. The best thing about this is the fact that the trouser, the way that it fits, just brushes the carpet. I thank you, because that is like, I love seeing just that clean slight brush of the pant on the ground. So good. The little pleat lines on the trouser to add a little bit more shape, great. There's nothing to say other than this is perfect. Are we shocked? No. Zendaya is always very, very good with the Met Gala and just fashion in general. Her and La Roche do such a good job with her looks, and I love the inspiration from it. I love the references, and this is just so good. One of my favorites. And then we have Jennie and of course Chanel, and before I get into it, I love this look. Jennie's been to a few Met Galas in the past, and her looks have been fine. They haven't been like crazy or anything. They've generally been like mini skirt type looks. And so I was like hoping if she was gonna be there that there'd really be something, and this is something. The look itself took like more than 330 hours to make, which is wild. And then the look is a direct inspiration from the 20s, 30s Coco Chanel, and then her designs. And then I believe there was also kind of an interpretation of a look that Chanel did back in 1987. And this look is just so good. Hat, perfect. I love that hats which of course are on theme, but so many people were wearing different types of hats, and I love seeing it. And I love this hat. I love the neckline going into the waistline. I love that there is a pant, and they're well-fit pants, so that adds to the tailoring aspect. And then the big skirt with the train, and then the white lining on the inside. There are no notes for this look. I think it's a really, really well done Chanel look, and it's on the mark for the dress code. Black and white, can never go wrong with it. Obviously the iconic pearls to add to it. Obviously like the little flower, and then the black satin strips to go with it. This is just a fantastic look, and much better than what Jennie has worn in the past. So love it. One of my favorites for the night for sure. And then Lisa was in Louis Vuitton, and one, I like the look. I think it's a really interesting look. Would I want more? Yes. I kind of would have wanted to have seen more in terms of like the tailoring. Obviously it is still technically there with the blazer, but I was kind of hoping for a little bit more. And I believe there has been a little bit of pushback with like the face stitching that's throughout the garment, that's on the jacket, and then on the like the bottom part. I know that they're just faces. I think the artist Henry Taylor's is the one that did it, and I think it's on record that it's just portraits of people. I'm not gonna say anything else to that. I just know that's a thing. I do like though this shape of the actual tailored part. The jacket is really good. You can see the shape in the waistline. I think the texture is interesting, and I do like the contrast between the tights that she was wearing with obviously like the logos on it, and then the way that the fabric of the like embroidery and then the sparkle and all that stuff. I do like the contrast, and I like the little detailing with the chain, I believe is what it looks like. It's a good look. It passes. I just wish it was more and dove further into the theme a little bit. But even so, because there are other looks that have this silhouette, but they feel more like the theme. So I think for this one in particular, I just wanted a little bit more from it. She looks great. I just needed a little bit more. Next is Teyana Taylor in Ruth E. Carter. And Ruth E. Carter is an Oscar-winning costume designer. So the look should be amazing. And this look is. It's absolutely amazing. It's a Zoot-inspired suit outfit. And I know that it says Harlem Rose on the train, which I think is in reference to the theme, but I think she also has a song that has to do with that. So you can't argue that this isn't on theme, because it is. What I love about it is that she like really pushed it and went for a very dandy, dapper type aesthetic, and I think it's great. The red is amazing. I love all of the little details. Like, it's a very busy look, but I think that 100% works with the feather in the hat, and then the floral here, and then the big jewelry here, the chains and the waist decor here, and then obviously the little brooches on this side with other flowers, and then the three-piece underneath the big shouldered cape. It's very well done. I do love that it is just so extra, and there's so much to look at. The cape has pleating to it, and then there's textural differences with the more like a velvet on the shoulders, and then the front part of the cape. It is a very well done look, and she looks fantastic. The makeup and everything is great. The hat, I love the hat. Again, I'm a sucker for hats. I think this is just such a good on theme but pushing it look that I wish there was more of this type of thing for the women specifically. But this was a 10 out of 10. Very good job, and I thought it was very well done. She looks so good. The amount of excitement that I had when this next look popped up in front of me, my goodness. I love, 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 love. This is Monica Barbaro in Dior, and this is a recreation of the 1947 of the new look. And I have nothing to say because this look is absolutely perfect. Nothing to say. This look originally is one of my favorite looks of all time, and seeing a recreation, and a recreation that was done well, I have nothing to say. This look is perfect. The hat, the gloves, the shoe, the everything. There is nothing to say about this look other than she looks stunning, and I'm so happy that this was done and done well. It's just such an iconic look, and it's to the theme. Of course, there is the tailoring and adding in the elements of the theme, so it's on dress code. It is just so good. I love the new look, and I love this interpretation, and I think she looks just so good. I can't say anything more to it because I'll just talk about how much I love it, but it is perfection, on theme, gorgeous, love it. Next is Doechii, and she was of course in Louis Vuitton, very obvious with all of the little logos, and I really like this look. I know that this look is an homage to Andre Leon Talley, so already on theme just with that reference, but I love that this is a short look. I feel like I've never really seen many in the way of shorts for the Met Gala, and this is done very, very, very well. I love the short one. I love that the front is cropped. The check on the short and then the logos on the shirt and jacket and everything, I think actually really works. It doesn't contrast, which I didn't think it would, but it's like a good way of doing something super logo-y and kind of monogram-like and not making it look tacky, really. I love the hints of the more like burgundy kind of red color. The tie bow is great. The shoe sock combination, great. Hair, great. Makeup, gorgeous. Styling, amazing. Everything about this look was really well done, but for the most part, the favorite for me is just the short aspect of it. It's not something you see all the time, and it's so well done. And I believe this is her first Met Gala, and this is a very good first debut look. Swung out of the park. Love it. I love the interpretation. I love the inspiration. All of it, great. And then we have Tyla and Jacquemus, and then she had Pandora jewelry on. And firstly, I think this is a great look. I love that there is the, like, it looks like stitching versus like a pinstripe in a fabric to give that black pinstripe look on the white. It feels very much like a Jacquemus look, so I'm not shocked by that, but I do love this look. I love the massive coat that goes into the big train. I think I would have wanted maybe just a little bit more in terms of like the tailoring, but I do think that it still is very much on theme. And so, you know, again, can't say too much. But I do really love this look. It feels very easy. It doesn't feel super complicated. I think the shape of the dress is great. I think the sleeve, like the little straps on her, I think maybe just in this photo, they look a little wonky, like they're not sitting perfectly on her, but it could just be how she's standing or how they are like at that point in time. But it is a very well done look, and I do love like that sewn pinstripe look. I think that's really interesting and out of the ordinary. I don't think I've really ever seen that. Coat's good. She looks stunning. It's a very good look. For me, I think I just would have wished there was a tiny bit more tailoring into it, but it is still great, and I do really love it. And then this is the first of many Thom Browne looks, which makes sense considering the theme. This one is Anok, and I love this dress. I think it's very well done. It's a great interpretation of the dress code. It is still very much tailored for you, but it's a dress and it's a very interesting, detailed type of interpretation, and it works. I love the regular standard collar and then going into the sparkly layering with the sleeves of the jacket, if you can see it when it's like on her like leg. The white train, like the kind of the more mermaidy train that is technically like the shirt, the undershirt, because you can see some of the cuff lining in it. It's a very cool interpretation because it is still technically a suit. It's just a broken down suit that's made into a dress, and like elements that we know that are part of suits are there. They're just kind of the details of it, and it's not actually the garment. I think she looks gorgeous, but she is gorgeous anyways. Everything about the styling is great. I love the additive of the gloves. It's a very well done Thom Browne look, and a lot of the Thom Browne looks for the Met Gala were really good. So it's just the first of many that was really well done. She looks gorgeous. I love the interpretation of it. It's just so good. This look, that is a Louis Vuitton look, that when I was talking about Lisa's look and how the silhouette that she wore, there were other looks that felt more on theme. This Sabrina Carpenter look, that is also Louis Vuitton of course, this feels more on theme to me at least. I first of all love the color, and I love the color with her hair, but it just feels more on theme. And obviously visually it is a little bit more straightforward, like a suit tailoring. It is a pinstripe. There are pinstripes, very thin pinstripes in the fabric, not obvious pinstripes, but I do love the shape of this look. I do know that this is obviously, it's not like a short, it is a bodysuit, and then it has the jacket, and then it has like the deconstructed collar of like the shirt on it. I love the little trains behind it, but the shape of this jacket is what makes this look. I love the contrast with the white buttons, but I love the lapels, and I love that little pole in the middle to bring in that shape. The cut is very well done. It fits very well. I think that this is, if comparing this look to Lisa's look, this is a better interpretation and kind of execution of the theme, for me at least. And I do definitely like this one more. They're both great. This one to me just feels more on theme, and I think the contrast with the white and the cuffs, and then obviously the buttons, and then the collar piece, it's just very well done. The shoe is also great, and I think that just ties it all together. But I like that the styling in general when it comes to the jewelry is relatively minimal. There isn't too much going on, even though there is earring and necklace and ring accessorizing happening. It's not taking the attention away from the look, it's just adding to it. And I think it was really, really well done. And for this particular shape, I think that this is probably my favorite out of all of the similarly designed looks. And then Jenna Ortega was in a Balmain look, and there is nothing to say other than the fact that this is taking tailoring to a very literal piece of design craftsmanship. Like, the dress is made of rulers, which when it comes to tailoring, you're using the, you know, the looser, longer roll-up rulers. So this is like taking tailoring and making it so interesting. Like actually taking the idea of like, okay, how do we tailor something? Oh, we use rulers to make sure all the measurements are perfect. So let's make a dress out of a ruler. So I thought that that was a very creative interpretation. And in terms of like the tailoring part, the dress has shape. So there's that. That's very good. I just think this is visually so interesting. The way that the rulers, obviously because they're just very straight, the way that it adds shape to it, and the way that it feels, it's a kind of a visual illusion if you actually look at the photo, where it starts like after the bust line and it's into the hips and then it goes down her legs. It almost feels like the rulers get thinner as you get down because the shape seems to change. And I don't know if that's like actually accurate. It doesn't look like it because the ruler is the same going all the way down, but for whatever reason it makes it look skinnier as you go down based on this picture, and I think that's a really interesting illusion. It might not be that if you like actually looked at her straight on, but it's a very interesting dress. I loved the theme interpretation of it. She looks gorgeous. The shape of the bodice is so interesting with the little V sweetheart line and then adding the wrap around with the rulers. It's just such a great creative interpretation, and I don't think there was really anything like this on the carpet, and it's on theme but in the most unobvious way ever, and I think it's great. It is definitely a show-stopping piece, and it's very well done, and she looks gorgeous. And Balmain definitely, the last few Met Galas, has done a really good job of taking the theme and interpreting it in such an interesting way and making gorgeous looks, because this is that, and it's amazing and I love it. And then we have Miss Gigi Hadid in a Miu Miu, and it has different references to it. I know some people were pointing out that this looks like Josephine Baker, which I get because what the reference photo was lining up to, it feels like Josephine Baker. And I know that the design inspiration comes from designs of Zelda Wynn Valdez, and it's a very good look. I think it's on theme without being too on the nose on theme. It's like she definitely walked away from like the tailoring part of the theme, and it's more of a time interpretation. However, in tailoring, it isn't always, like tailoring or something. It is also the shape of a garment that is technically considered tailoring, because you have to tailor the look to make sure it fits your body, and this does that. So in that way, it is on theme directly to the tailored for you look, because it does fit her body line and it looks very good. What I love about this look, and it technically has nothing to do with the actual dress, but her hair is a 1940s pinup hair that I love, and they're called victory rolls because they are like the spin loops that World War II pilots would do as a victory after like a tactical maneuver. So that's where like that name victory rolls comes in with that particular hairstyle, and I love it. I think it pulls this whole look together, and it is so well done. I mean, the look, like the dress itself is so pretty. I love the gold. I love the little detail work with it. The train is great. There is like nothing wrong with this look. It is so well done. I love the choice and interpretations and the inspirations that were used. And because it isn't like a suiting, straight tailoring type of look, and it's tailoring in a different type of way, I just think that breaks it up a little bit, and I do like it. It's very well done. I do love it. She looks gorgeous. Those victory rolls, 1940s pinup victory rolls, I love. And this is just a very well done look, and it's almost like a good palette cleanser when you see just all of this suiting, to have these like little looks that are on theme, but they just are interpreted in a way that makes it visually very contrasting to what everyone else was doing. This is very good, and I love this look. And next is Kendall Jenner in Torishéju, and no surprise to me because I generally love Kendall Jenner's looks. this is another one. I think that this is a very gorgeous interpretation of the dress code. The inspiration comes from 1920s Harlem Renaissance women like Gladys Bentley, and it's just such a well done look. Simple, but highly effective in the way that it is shaped and the way that they designed this look. The jacket is of course the most interesting because it has all of the little details. The skirt is really well done and it has like the little train, and the entire look is a fairly standard suiting type of fabric visually, it seems, but the jacket is great. I love that first of all, the shape. Amazing. The shape is gorgeous. It kind of has the shape of, at least like from the like under the bust down, the shape is very similar to that of the new look. It's just kind of like that kind of more opened, stiffer shape that's really, really pretty. And then once you get up into it, I love the way that the neckline is that slightly plunging V that has the lapels and goes up like a standard blazer jacket would. But of course the most interesting thing is the shoulder and to the under the sleeve part with the folding and like not necessarily ruching, but it's just kind of like the bunching of fabric. And then I know it has shoulder pads to it as well, and it adds more shape to it. The fit is great. The shape is great. The little detail works with the fabric. So very good. It is simple, but so good. And I think it's not very shocking that Kendall Jenner knows how to, her and her stylist, when they come up with these looks, they do such a good job of changing the silhouettes for the most part, doing something different, trying to interpret the theme in a way that it is interpreting the theme and it is the theme, but making it interesting, but also making it very Kendall Jenner. And I think this is a good example of that. But for me, this is like more along the lines of stuff that I absolutely love. So I 100% immediately gravitated towards this look. I think it is one of the best looks of the Met Gala. It's so well done. It's just a good interpretation. It's very obvious like tailoring and suiting, but it is a little bit more hyper feminine, but it has a vintagey effect to it, and it works, and it's gorgeous, and I love it. And then we have Vittoria Ceretti, and she is one of several looks that are from the Moncler and E72 collaboration. I love this look. I only saw the dress first, and then I saw other photos where it definitely felt more Moncler with the puffer top coat over it, and I love this look. First of all, I'm happy to see Vittoria Ceretti there anyways because I feel like she's so underrated. Why, I have no idea. She's one of my favorite models. But the look itself is so well done. On theme, of course. I love that the look is very pinstripey. It's very standard to tailoring to suiting, but I just love that it's different interpretation. The mini skirt part is great, and then the massive train is very well done. But to me, I think the big puffer moment really just adds to it and makes it so interesting to look at. I love the shape of it, especially when it has like, obviously it's like the cover that stops there and then it goes into like the big cocoon type hood thing. It is so well done. One of my favorites for sure. And I think what I also love too is the styling isn't too crazy. Her hair is just up and slicked back and good. The glove is just about color matched to the dress itself, which I love. In some photos it looks more color matched, and in others it doesn't, so it's like probably color matched. Just depends on which photo you get and the lighting. The shoe is great, and then the necklace that you see once you actually take the puff part off just completes the look. Love this look. It is kind of sitting next to Kendall Jenner in terms of it's more of a silhouette and a design that I naturally gravitate towards. And so I think for me personally, that's why I love it so much. But it's just such a great interesting way to interpret the theme. She looks gorgeous. I'm happy to see her. Love the look. And then we have an ultra simple look with Stormzy and Tom Ford, and I really like this look. Probably because it is so simple. Like, it's of course on theme, but it's not as heavy as a lot of the other looks. Trouser, nice. The undershirt is the main part of this look. Obviously, since there's no jacket, there is like the undone tie, and then the shirt is undone a little bit to see the under tank top, like the undershirt with the tank top. The collar is up a little bit, and then there's like a little detail with the brooch here. It's a cool and very laid back and almost edgy way of interpreting a suit, because it's missing pieces of the suit, and it's almost like how men would look, you know, after an event when they're on their way home or something, where they unbutton things, take off the jacket, undo the tie, trying to just loosen up a little bit. That's what this look is, and I like it. I think it's a cool way of doing it, to just start with the end, and I think he looks really good in this entire little getup, and for me it works. But I like simplicity generally, as long as it's done well, and this is done well. And then we have Kerry Washington and Jonathan Simkai, and they're in Simkai obviously. Starting with Jonathan, very great look. Love the color palette. It's a more like laid back version of the theme. I think it's very well done. I think it's a very well done look, and I love the tie and the belt to bring the suit together. But like, realistically for me, Kerry Washington's look is so good. I like sheer stuff if it's done in a way that I can like. And with this particular look, I didn't know initially if the sheerness of the skirt would work with the contrast of the jacket. But like, the more I've looked at it and the more I've kind of figured out this look, I do think it really works. I think this is like a good, very modern interpretation of the new look from Dior. Like, if you put Monica Barbaro's look and then Kerry Washington's look, it's like the same world in terms of the shape and stuff, but like Monica's is the OG one, and then Kerry's is the very much modern interpretation. And I think from head to toe, this is a great look. The hat is great. The hair and how they did it, very good. Makeup, great. I just love the shape of the jacket, and I love that it has that plunging, and then it has like extra fabric to give a little bit more shape to the plunging neckline. The sleeve shape is a little bit more oversized, but it makes it a little bit more interesting. Obviously, the shape at the bottom of the jacket, gorgeous. The little sheer gloves is really good underneath, and that ties in to the skirt that is very well done. I do really like it. I think the fact that you can like see the undergarment part, it's okay to me. I just think overall the look is really well done. The shoe is great. I think this is just a very great Simkai look, and if it is an interpretation and pivot of the new look, which it could be, it was done very well. Both looks are on theme. They just take a different color palette, switch to it, and kind of a different fabrication switch to it, and I think both looks are great. Kerry Washington's though is very good, and I love it. And then we have Janelle Monáe and Thom Browne. One, not shocked by the level of theatrics to this look. Also not shocked by just how cool this look is. The first part is the big cover that has the suit outlined in it, and the graphic design with the little bag and everything. That was really cool with the extra straight shoulders. But for me, my favorite part was you take that off and then you actually see the tailored piece. And I love that it's not a pant and that it is closer to like a dress or a skirt. I think the detail work is amazing, adding like the detail graphics of the buttons for like a pant, and then all of the lines and the contrast with the red and the black and the white. The tie was great. The hat is good. It's a very graphic look. And then the little eyeglass thing, I forget what they're actually called, but that is a very nice touch to the look. This is a very, very well done look, and it is very much such a fun interpretation of the theme. And I know this look was inspired by 1930s more so, and then like the black dandyism and empowerment and stuff, and I feel like I definitely get it. I just think it's such a bold and graphic and fun look. But with Janelle Monáe, I feel like that's not too out of the wheelhouse of what she generally does, because she's always very graphic and very fun and very fashion, and this is a good look. Great on theme, so different from what everyone else wore. Very, very, very well done. And then Sydney Sweeney was in Miu Miu, and this was a reference to Kim Novak and John Crawford, I believe is what I was seeing. This is a very well done look for her. I feel like people could maybe say that this isn't necessarily on theme because there isn't too much in the way of like tailoring, but if you look at the dress, the shape of it, fitting her perfectly, it was tailored to her body in a way that's probably where the tailoring part came in, because it fits her so well. I love this shape of it. It is very much of a vintage shape, which I love. The little rose that attaches the top part is super pretty. The hair, little curls, super pretty. I think this is just a very pretty, gorgeous, stunning dress. The shape is amazing. Do I think it could have maybe been more on theme? Yes. But do I think that it isn't necessarily on theme? No, because I do think it is on theme. It's just not in the obvious way of a lot of the other looks being on theme. I think this is a great look. I love the sparkle. I love the shape. I feel the vintageness of it, and she looks gorgeous. So, and last but certainly not least for this part of the review is Lupita Nyong'o, and she is in Chanel, and this is a great Chanel look. Firstly, this color on her, gorgeous. It reminds me of the blue Oscar look that she wore however many years ago. It's kind of the same family in terms of color. Loved that color on her then, love it now. It's just such a good color for her. The look itself though, gorgeous. The tailoring, perfect. The pant, perfect. Love the hat. The little cape is a nice touch. It adds a little bit more drama to it. I think that, again, Chanel can be very hit or miss, and particularly for me, it can be very hit or miss. This is a good Chanel look, and it's a very well interpreted look. That's something that Chanel is easily a brand that could very much do this trend. I think what's interesting about this look is that even though it does seem to be of a tweed type fabric, it isn't obviously that, and I think that adds to the visual of the look. It's a little bit cleaner and flatter, so it doesn't feel too heavy. But I mean, the shape is great. The shape is great, and it just looks like it fits her so well. Such a well done Chanel look. I just can't get over this color on her skin though, because it is so good. And I love that even though that the pant doesn't seem to hit the floor or brush it, it still does lay flat, which is very good, especially with this type of pant. And this is a very good look. Love this look. Love this color. She looks gorgeous. And so with Lupita being done, that is the end of part 1 of my Met Gala review. Many looks, because there were many looks. I think I pulled overall like 100 something looks. So it's a lot of content. But overall, at this point, looking back at like the looks from this video, there were very few looks that I just didn't gravitate towards, or I didn't love, or they felt like they could have been on theme a little bit more. For the most part, everyone was like hitting the goal. Very, very well, taking different interpretations, very well done. The looks across the board were just interesting, and I'm happy that this is a theme that everyone seems to be like, oh yeah, we can actually do it, and we don't have to ignore it, because we don't want to ignore it. So I'm very happy with the dress code theme because it is such a fun one and can be done in so many different ways. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on these particular looks. Obviously, again, so many, but you can drop a comment down below on your thoughts of any of the looks from this video. And of course, there will be a part 2 and potentially a part 3 in the coming weeks with my next videos. But as for this video, this is the end. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.